This is Mr. Wong. You listening to UFO Buster Radio with Manny Moonraker and a bigger O. You listen, they talk about flying saucer and little green men. Oh no. Again, here they come. I gotta go. See ya. Bye-bye.
Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Who the heck is Mr. Wong? Anyway, this is episode 65. 6-5. I'm Robo-O, and they hate us because they ain't us. Manny Moonraker, let's get it started.
What's up, folks? Just like you heard Robo-O say, this is episode number 65. And today, we have an interview with no one other than Willy Myco. Now, the interview, it's regarding a sighting that Willy had around January 23rd. Luckily for us, he posted this sighting on YouTube, and our tinfoil hat winner, James V, out of the Carolinas, actually got the connection going so that we can get an interview with Willy. So that's going to be coming up in just a moment. But before we do that, as I stated last week, I'm going to get these MUFON reports on a episode basis. So every episode, you can look forward to a MUFON report. And like I said, these reports are going to be those that have attachments of multimedia, because it is the only way that we are able to see exactly what it is the individual who experienced the incident actually saw. Now, we know for a fact that everyone's armed with cameras in their cell phones, and many people say time and time again that the naked eye can still see these things a little better, and that's because at night, cameras are notoriously horrific when it comes to catching details. You really have to have a high-end camera with a very good aperture on it in order to catch details of anything at night. And unfortunately for the consumer, cell phones don't cut the mustard. So before we get to Willy's interview about his incident, which, by the way, for those of you who listened to the last episode, the incident we covered from MUFON from last week, if you compare that information with the video that Willy has posted on his YouTube channel, these are eerily similar. And again, Willy's incident is out in the East Coast, and the MUFON incident actually occurred in Minneapolis. But they are extremely, extremely similar. So with that said, time for the MUFON report.
Grab onto your probes. It is MUFON report time.
So this MUFON report was dated for you today, February 5th, 2017. The date of the event, however, was August 27th of last year. And for those of you who want to go on the database on the MUFON website and check out the case for yourself, it is case number 81930. According to this occurred in Senecaville, Ohio. And the short description on this is that the individual looked out their front door and saw 5 red orbs moving in the sky. And that was enough to pique their interest and to get that recording going. So again, the incident was at night. It happened August the 27th at 9:45 p.m. Relatively dark, and you'll see that in the 3 videos the individual posted. Now, apparently they were at a relative's house at that time when they noticed in astonishment the first initial 5 red orbs. Now if you look at the video, you'll see that these orbs do not stay lit the whole time. They come in and out. There is one that stays consistently lit throughout the videos themselves. But the other ones, they tend to blink in and out. Now, according to the person that recorded the incident or the sighting, the orbs were moving slowly over a mile away, and they were coming from the horizon line against a nearby ridge. They did note that the night was very clear, so there wasn't any cloud cover or anything like that. So these orbs were very clear and crisp to see. So immediately when they noticed what was happening, the individual ran back into the house and got the cell phone, and we have 3 videos posted on MUFON, and it's a very good video. However, it is a cell phone, so keep that in mind. So the one thing noted by this individual is that these objects, these red orbs, would follow each other. They were kind of like a formation, and there was a time where they actually formed a triangle, and that can actually be seen in one of the videos. So altogether, they counted a total of 12 different red orbs at one time over the 25-minute encounter in which they sat there and watched this happen in the sky. Now, what's really great about this report is that they also note that another individual in the county of Washington reported to the sheriff about multiple red-orange orbs being seen over a local Walmart. Folks, this is a completely different take on falling prices. They even printed the story in the Marietta Times, the local newspaper. So needless to say, the individual was very excited about their sighting. They also make note that there were family members who were skeptical about what the unidentified flying object really was. But apparently, there was more than one individual that actually saw the UFOs, and it does bring a bit more of a credence to the fact that so many people over a large area actually reported this particular sighting, and the reports were all very similar, red-orange orbs. And the video speaks for itself. Check it out. Like I said, MUFON has a wealth of information, and now that we have media in the form of cell phones and portable cameras, action cams, whatever you want to use, there is a wealth of information in MUFON that does not get proliferated to the rest of the world. And we, as closet ufologists, we should look at it, use it. There is nothing better than this raw data for getting to the identification of patterns and eventually the identification of the origin of these objects.
You can help the podcast out by hitting the like button, sharing, following, and writing awesome reviews about me, Robo-O. Visit us at ufobusterradio.com, Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook.
So you just heard the intro, actually, at the beginning of the show, and that particular intro was provided by Mr. Wong, who is a bit of a character on the Dave in the Morning Show. And if you have a chance, Dave in the Morning Show is on Spreaker, and it comes on at 6:30 Central. So go ahead, stop by, give him a listen, and you might just come across Mr. Wong in one of those episodes. So now, without further ado, we have a great interview with Willy Myco. And actually, if you want to find the YouTube channel, link to the video that he posted on YouTube. His YouTube channel is Willy, Willy. Give him a whirl, check him out, but here's the interview. Folks, as promised, I have for you Willy Myco, or Willy from Willy Myco, the YouTube channel. And he recently, on January the 23rd, published a UFO sighting. And Willy, welcome to the show today.
Thanks a lot, Manny. I appreciate it.
So listen, your particular sighting was kind of sent to us by James, and James was actually our tinfoil hat contest winner last year, and really creative what he did. But he sent that to us for us to look at, and I gotta say it was fascinating. So I figure I need to have you on so you can tell us firsthand what this sighting was about. What was it for you?
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple. I explained it on the video. I mean, there were some things that I left out, but pretty much I was coming back from a business thing in Provincetown, Mass. I was coming back, it was really early in the morning. I believe it was about 3 a.m. in the morning, around there, 2 to 3 a.m. I got the exact time on the video. But as I'm driving down the highway, I noticed off on the right-hand side, something was glowing over the treetops. And it just caught my attention as weird. So I kept driving about a mile down the road, and I noticed that it wasn't moving. There was no blinking lights. So I pulled over as soon as I got a chance. And I stood there watching it, and then it started moving towards me. And that's when I actually ran back into the truck, and I grabbed my phone. And I'm standing in the sliding door of my truck, and I'm recording it, and I'm kind of narrating as the video is going along, and it's coming towards me. As it's coming towards me, it's actually breaking through the trees as it's coming towards me. So it looks like it's blinking, but what's happening is we're catching glimpses of it as it, the branches open up and we can actually see it. But I kept saying, it's going to come over the top of my head, so it's going to break through and I'm going to see it. So I end up standing there recording, and I'm watching it, and I'm narrating, and it breaks through. And what happens is it actually flies almost directly over my right-hand side. It goes over my head, and I actually have to step outside the truck. So you guys see me step outside the truck, and I have to catch it going on to the other side of the highway. As this is happening, it's bouncing around, but in a weird way. I don't even know how to explain it. It was kind of like it was hopping from like skipping rocks, kind of like a frisbee, like if you bounced it off the ground. It would like jump from one place to another, but then it would move slow at times, and then it would speed up, and it would climb really high, come low. It was just really, really weird. But the whole time, it would either go dimmer or it would go brighter, and the whole time, it never changed. Like it never shifted forms. The light never went out. There was nothing. There was no type of signal lights whatsoever on the craft. And that's what caught my attention in the first place. Now, I was very specific to make sure I told people, like it's flying, it's unidentified flying object. I didn't want to make the assumption that it was extraterrestrial, just because of the field that I'm in. I just didn't want to jump to them conclusions. I let people make their own conclusions. But, I've done a ton of research since then. I've called a bunch of people, and nobody could tell me for sure what it is. So, it's really, really intriguing. And how fast it moved in the end, and it climbed up to where it just disappeared, it was really amazing. I've never seen nothing like that in my entire life. So I was actually I feel pretty lucky that I actually seen it. It was a pretty cool experience.
Oh, absolutely. I could just imagine. So now you're saying that it came pretty close to you.
Yeah, very close. At one point, if I had to estimate, when it was crossing over the highway, it's a 2-lane highway. It's a very narrow highway. It could have been no more than between 2,500 and 3,000 feet off to my right-hand side. So, like, it came straight towards me, but it was off to my right-hand side slightly. So I got a pretty good shot of it. Well, what I thought was a pretty good shot on my cell phone, but it was very close. But I couldn't see no detail. It was like the whole object itself was illuminating its own light. It wasn't lighting up nothing on the ground. It wasn't lighting up nothing around it. It was just illuminating itself. And it was a bright, bright light, but it didn't hurt to look at. It was almost like an off-white color.
So, Willie, altogether, would you say that this definitely was not a conventional aircraft at all?
100%. It wasn't a conventional aircraft. People that know me know that I'm a recreational pilot. That was kind of my backup. I went to school to become a pilot. I was going to become a commercial pilot. That was my fallback plan. If, my other ventures didn't work out, I could tell you 100% without a doubt that it was not a conventional aircraft. It had no anti-collision signal lights. It had no navigation light. Planes, even if it was, all right, let's say even just hypothetically, we'll say it was a small Cessna 172. So a small conventional aircraft like that has to have its lights on at all time during nighttime travel. This had no lights whatsoever, and I was close to it. And I live right next to Boston Logan Airport, and I watch planes go over my apartment building all day. They're very easy to spot, you know, a plane or a helicopter, something like that. You would be able to tell instantly because of the lights that are on it. This was definitely not a conventional aircraft, 100%. I could guarantee that.
You know, one of the best things about your video is that you take the time to actually show people on, I don't know if that was Google Earth or Google Maps, but exactly where the incident occurred. Now, when I looked at that info, now there is there's like a municipal airport not too far from there also, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There's a municipal airport not too far from there. Well, it's not extremely close, but yeah, there's a municipal airport not too far from there. But the direction it was coming from, even if it was coming from the airport, it would have never made that flight path. There's nothing of significance over there. It's literally just forest off to both sides. Now, if it was an aircraft, what would have happened is when it passed over us, and we're seeing that bright light, which would be its landing light. So it's coming towards us. When the plane, if it was a plane that passed over us, when we was looking at the tail end of the plane, we wouldn't have seen the landing light. The landing light would have been facing the other direction. As you could see, as it crosses over, the light never changes. It's unless the plane spun around while it was up in the air crossing over us to stay in our line of vision at all times, then, you know, that would be the only way it makes sense. But for it going directly over us and it never changing its light source at all, that just goes to show that it couldn't have been a landing light on an aircraft.
So, Willie, you mentioned us. So did you have a witness with you that saw the actual incident?
No. It was just me. I was driving back all by myself. Yeah, it was me all by myself. I had my cell phone, and I was just out there. Now, I wish I had somebody else with me. It would have been great to get their take on it. But I was there by myself. In the video, I think only one other car passed by during the time that I started recording till the time it disappeared. And even that car, it was a truck. It was a pickup truck. He even slowed down. He seen it. And I seen him looking out his windshield. Like, he slowed down. And I thought that was pretty cool because I'm like, all right, somebody else is seeing this. And I wish that he would see that video and then, you know, get in touch with me so he could give his side. But I have no idea who it was. Like I said, it's a highway called the Mid-Cape Highway, and it's one lane going east, one lane going west or north-south. I forget exactly, but it's only one lane, and at that time at night, that highway is completely dead. And that's a highway that I travel at least 4 or 5 times a month, and I've never seen anything like that.
The best thing about your story is that you have that experience and in your pilot training. And so you know the difference between, you know, a balloon, let's say, that a lot of people identify like a weather balloon, and a conventional aircraft. So that's perfect. So the other type of aircraft that people are always identifying as UFOs these days is drones. So but you're saying there was no sound for this thing at all?
Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. Completely silent. Now, that's what I said even about the drone. Now, Boston's, like, especially Massachusetts, and I know, like, a lot of other airports, are pretty strict. I'm not sure what the airspace is like over there. I'm not sure if where I've seen it is still part of the Mid-Cape or municipal airport. But if you flew a drone over airspace, you could get in a lot of trouble for that. Now, when it flew over me, it was completely silent. And even if it was a drone, let's just say, it would have never been able to cover the distance that it covered in that time. Like, this thing, even though it was up in the air, it was hauling ass. And then for it to jump from one location to the other, almost like it was like a rock being skipped on top of the water. It was extremely weird. There was no characteristics of any conventional aircraft or a drone. If there was, I would have wrote it off right away. You know, I would have said it's a drone. You know, this isn't my field of expertise, you know. So I pretty much just put it out there and I said, hey, do you think this guy, you know, this is interesting? Let me know what you guys think because I'm stumped. And I gave them the details and everybody really liked it. And I put out the whole unedited video so that way people could see it and they could see it exactly as I did. Now, of course, I wish I had a better camera on me. I wish I had a stiller hand. But at the time, when this is happening, all I was worried about was just catching it in frame. I was so scared that it wasn't even going to come up in frame because it was so dark out. Now, when I'm over here telling people this is really what happened. This isn't me trying to get publicity for my YouTube or anything like that. I have a bunch of subscribers and followers. It's not about that, and this is way out of my line of expertise. I just wanted to get people's take on it. And, maybe people could help me get closure for it. I've done my due diligence. I've looked into it pretty extensively, and I can't come up with one single reasonable explanation for this. If I could, I'd write it off. But it definitely wasn't a drone, because even it flying over me, I would have heard the propellers on the drone. If it was a plane, you'd definitely hear it. I mean, a plane, especially a propeller plane, is pretty loud. And at 3,000 feet, that's almost nothing. So, you would have heard something. This was completely silent, and it was moving extremely fast.
So, Willie, one of the other things that came across when I first looked at your video, like a week later, I picked up a story from MUFON, and that description in that video is very similar to yours. That's why I was really interested in hearing your story firsthand, because they have the same situation, a very similar video, and I think it's something that we could even compare the two. So it's the same type of craft, silent, and the movement was almost identical to what you were reporting in your video.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. I didn't know that, but that's really cool. And, you hear people talking about this stuff all the time, and when you actually see it with your own eyes, it's kind of undescribable. Like I said, I was very hesitant to jump and say, oh, it's extraterrestrial or it's ET, but it's unexplainable. It's 100% unexplainable. Like, I've seen some of the comments on the video. Some people are for it. Some people say, oh, it's a drone or a weather balloon. I know for a fact it isn't, but I'm not going to sit there and argue with people, because I'd be there all day trying to explain to them. So you just have to take it at face value. Now, I mean, it's 100% real. I would take a lie detector test. I know what I saw. This isn't a hoax. It isn't a game. I tried to document it the best I could. And it's really cool that MUFON has a related story that happened in or around the time that mine happened, because it adds some validity to it. I'm hoping that the video came across the same way that I seen it, but I know, like, it was at nighttime, so you guys couldn't see landmarks. So that's why I tried to do the Google Map thing, so you guys could get a perspective of what was actually going on in the video, because if not, it just looks like a black sky with a white light in it. So it was just a really cool experience, and, the video is out there for everybody to decide what they want to decide about it, but it's 100% not a conventional aircraft, 100% not a hoax or a joke whatsoever.
That's fantastic. And so I'm going to have the link to Willy Myco's video inside of the description for the podcast episode. So I invite everyone to please go ahead and check it out. And I'm also going to have a link to the MUFON report and that video so that you can compare and contrast. But Willy, like I said, the best thing about your video is that you go down to the details. You give a location. I mean, you give the works. And really, anyone that has these type of sightings, that is just perfect information to include in your videos, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I just wanted to include everything as best as I could so people could make their own decision. They could lay out a map and maybe recreate what happened. I know what I saw, and I'll defend it forever because it's unexplainable, and it's just really cool. It really piqued my interest in ufology and reading up and looking into stuff about it, because I'm into things that you can't quite explain, and that was definitely unexplainable, and I got a story to tell somebody forever. I've started telling everybody this story now when I come into contact with new people, and it's just really cool, and I'm happy I was able to record it on my phone so you guys could see it and decide for it what you will.
So, Willy, before I let you go, I do have to ask you one question.
Yeah.
And that is, what is your take, since you said ufology, what is your take on ufology, and do you really think there's something out there?
All right, coming from a science background, you would have to be either arrogant or extremely ignorant to the fact that there isn't some type of life form in an infinite, ever-expanding universe. There has to be something out there. Are they here? Have they visited us? I don't know. But there has to be something out there. And I do believe there's a lot of things that we can't explain. And it intrigues me very much. And I love the unexplainable. And I love reading into it and learning about it all the time. And I believe if we have people like you and other people representing the ufology community extremely well, doing their due diligence, eventually we'll get the answers to our question. And hopefully there is something out there, because it just makes life more interesting knowing that there's unknown aspects out there.
Absolutely. Very much. I agree with what you're saying. Willie, I thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of UFO Buster Radio. And if you have any future sightings, be sure to come by. We would love to share that information with our people.
Definitely. If I'm lucky enough, I would definitely let you guys know first.
All right. Thank you, Willie.
No problem, Manny. Thank you very much.
So, folks, that was an incredible interview. And there's a lot of information there that is critical to how Willie used technology in order to share his report and his experience. And we saw this with the Metabunk website and how they used technology like Google Earth and other forms of technology in order to take us through how they came about and defined that incident as just a simple contrail. Now, whether or not they're right, who knows? But the moral of the story here is that we have technology at our fingertips that people back in the 40s did not have. You know, people even back in the 80s didn't have. We have things like Google. We have things like cell phones. We have all kind of geo-tracking GPS information that can be used in order to fine-tune reports. Willie did an amazing job, and I invite you guys to check out his YouTube channel and check out his actual video, because he really breaks it down. And like we've always said, the UFO Buster Radio Show is about the blue-collar person. It's about the regular guy. But in all of that, it's about getting everyone to use technology in order to bring closure to many of these UFO incidents. So the last thing I want to say for this episode is that starting in March, we're going to be working a lot harder to fine-tune the YouTube channel. And Manny's blurb will end this month. And I'm going to be using the time that I would normally produce Manny's blurb in order to work on getting videos, kind of vlog videos for UFO Buster Radio on YouTube. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, we'll announce it here. And hopefully we'll have more fascinating interviews starting in March. And I am working on getting some of our old favorite people back on the show to talk about what's been happening to them in the last year since they came on the show and talked to us. With that said, keep an eye to the sky. Keep technology on your side. We'll check you out next week. Ciao.
Okay, UFO Buster Radio all done. You go now. You come back tomorrow. You listen to archive. You go now. You have a nice day. Bye-bye.